Hello. How is everybody? Everybody, I give it 2 minutes and then we'll get started. Can you hear me okay? Good. I'm fired up. Should be good. I actually washed my hair for you today. No baseball hat. How about that? It's because I'm getting on an airplane in like 2 hours, 3 hours, so. All right, we'll give it a few more minutes. You guys all look beautiful.
Damn, Tracy, you look good.
Thank you. Wow. Who said that? Got me blushing a little bit on that one. Okay, we'll give it 1 more minute. We'll get started. I just want to look at all your pretty faces. Get some faces. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to continue to post these as long as I can. Isagenix is being very cautious, as they should be, about any information that gets out there. So we want to make sure everything's compliant, which, you know, I've talked about over and over, and I don't blame them. I'm all about compliance. So hopefully I'm able to continue to post the recordings. I think it's very valuable and helpful and compliant. So I strongly advise people to get on live if they can. So can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, okay, somebody can't hear me, but it's not on my end. So, you know, I strongly advise you to get on live if you can. I will continue to post the recordings until I can't. I think it's really awesome that everybody is coming on and participating and not letting up. I'm super proud of everybody. Seriously, I know how much of a commitment this is. I know how much hard work this is. I know how much sometimes it feels like we're getting our butts kicked a little bit. And I'm just super, super proud of everybody. So I wanted to kind of get that out of the way. Are we excited for tonight? Yeah? Everybody have a good holiday weekend? Yeah? So I've been going over the 10 habits of a successful leader. For those of you that were at Celebration and saw Eric Worre, he nailed it with these 10 characteristics. And I was kind of feeling really good about myself for a second, because as he was going through the list, I'm like, yep, I do that. Yep. And so as we go through it, you know, first week was vision, second week was belief, and those are huge. And this week it will be simplicity. And this is huge. And I will never forget my very first event. I was about a month into Isagenix, and I was a hot mess. And for those of you that are perfectionists, like I used to be, raise your hand if you're a perfectionist. It's okay. Well, it's really not okay. Perfectionism is the form of self-abuse, because you're never going to live up to your expectations, and you're just going to keep running in circles, and you're going to keep banging your head against the wall doing nothing, and you're going to keep negative self-talking, and all of those are really not good for you. And I used to do that all the time, and it got me nowhere. So when I went to my very first event, I'll never forget this, and it has stuck with me ever since. And it's why I just adore her training so much, because this made so much sense to me. And for those of you that have heard her speak, you're going to be like shaking your head when I say this. However, I want to ask you, how many of you are actually following that? She said 2 things that really stuck with me, and it was Lynn Hagedorn. She said, keep the main thing, right? And don't go to work to complicate this. And I was doing both of those things. Like I was not keeping the main thing, and I was completely complicating this whole thing. And luckily, my first event was in my first month, so I was able to get a grip on that and let go of my ego, let go of my, self-defeating behavior with the perfectionism. So keeping the main thing is, doing the things that produce, that help you bless people, that help you enroll people, which produces income and getting them paid. And I think so many times when we make the decision that we want to be a leader, everybody on this call, over 100 of you now, that's kind of sad. We've lost 100 along the way. I told you at the beginning, 20% would be left at the end. So I know the magic number of the 20%. So bravo for being in that. Keeping the main thing, I think when we decide we want to be a leader and we want to be in that 2% category of behaviors, that all of a sudden we start thinking about all the things that we think a leader should be. And, we go into management mode and we start telling people how to do this. And, you can offer suggestions and what's worked for you. However, I notice most of the people that go into management mode are telling them stuff that they're not doing, like enrolling and connecting and keeping, grips on your time management and income producing activities. And I want you to know that all of the things that got me where it got me in my first 6 months, which I moved pretty fast. I think I went to 3 or 4 star in my first 9 months. And I have never switched up what I did in those first 6 months that I do today. Like the things that were important to get me where I got early on, I'm still doing all of those activities today. I really haven't changed it too much. I'm a little bit more polished than I used to be. I can actually keep a focus when I'm talking now instead of being like a squirrel all over the place. But I've had to work really, really hard at it. But the main thing is still the main thing, always. It's connecting, talking to people, enrolling, getting them paid, service, the things that we talked about in the prep week. So stop thinking that you have to be something different than you were when you started. Really, it's really that simple. And that's really where people get completely thrown off. Keep the main thing the main thing. We're here to serve people and bless them and share the isogenic story. And it's really that simple, and to share it compliantly. And, that takes some education. The only thing I do very differently now is I'm very aware of what a compliance story is and what isn't. I don't verbally vomit like I used to, but it's still the main thing. Can you guys agree with me that that's kind of important? And that's, as a leader, those are things that you have to take ownership of, is understanding what compliance is. It's really, really important. As leaders, it's important we show our people what compliance is. It is so, so, so important. And connecting with new people all the time. That is the main thing. We are put on this earth and in this world to connect. It's a human thing. And we go to work to complicate that, even when we decide we want to be a network marketer, when we decide we want to be a leader, when we make the decision that we want to be in that 2% of leadership. We want to take those habits on, and all of a sudden it gets crazy. All of a sudden we're doing things and branding ourselves and doing all this silly, silly stuff that it really doesn't do much for you. The simplest you can keep this, the easier it will be to duplicate yourself, the easier it will be for people to relate to you. No matter how far you go with this, you want to stay real and relatable. And I think that has been one of my favorite things about this journey is I really don't care how much success, according to recognition we get. Stay humble and stay real and stay relatable. So when people are seeing you on Facebook, they don't feel intimidated to approach you, or they see you out in public, and you're carrying yourself a certain way. I mean, go wear sweatpants out there. Be relatable and approachable and duplicatable. So keep the main thing the main thing. We have systems and tools so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And that was something in my first month I thought I needed to do, just because I didn't know any better. And once I knew better, I stopped doing it. Somebody just asked me, what did I change? That is exactly what I changed. I use the systems and tools at all times. I keep things very, very simple. I don't do things that any of you just starting out couldn't do. You know, maybe I can stand on a stage and not puke. Maybe some of you would at this point. And I get that because in the beginning I wanted to do that. That may be the only difference. And that just took a lot of time, a lot of practice, and a lot of messing up and a lot of failing. The only difference between you and me is I've been willing to fail a lot more. That is really the only difference. And I encourage you all to keep it simple, to be okay with failing, and stay duplicatable. And the other thing that this does when you keep it simple is it shows that every single kind of personality can do this. Seriously, not everybody is a crazy Irish girl like me. And so because I keep it simple, you know, I can have a really quiet introvert, you know, do this, or somebody that's really shy do this because we keep it simple. We use the tools and systems. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah? Awesome. Okay. So we're going to move into our first category, and I am just following what our company is doing. You know, when you check the little box in your back office for the 90-day game plan, I am following along exactly what they're doing. I'm just maybe elaborating a little bit more. So tonight's topics will be mindset, connecting, and time management. And I know we've gone over some of these things before, and that's because we're keeping the main thing the main thing. You're going to hear the same topics. Maybe you'll catch something different this time than you do last time, because there really is about 4 or 5 things that you really need to be, you know, spot on with. And in my opinion, and it's my favorite thing to talk about, is mindset, because this is the deal breaker for a lot of you. You know, you can know the systems and tools. You can know about, you know, how to post on social media. You can know you plus two, them plus two, like the back of your hand. But if your mindset is jacked, it doesn't matter. None of it matters, because you will completely self-sabotage anything good that you do if your mindset's not right. And I'm speaking from experience, because I was the queen of that for a long, long time. I mean, I would listen to myself instead of talking to myself. And, you know, write this down. Write this one down. Listen to yourself, or I'm sorry, talk to yourself more than you listen to yourself, because you need to tell yourself what's going to happen. You know, all of you have a vision board that you're looking at. And when that stinking thinking starts to creep in, I look over at my vision board. I'm like, oh, no, 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 devil, no, Satan. No, this is how it's going to go down. This is what's going to happen. This is what my intentions are. This is how it's going to roll. And all of a sudden, all the negative chatter in your head starts to go away. So get in the habit of talking to yourself. That's why I talk about writing down gratitudes. You know, when you start to go to the negative spot, you know, go to your gratitude list. Start talking to yourself. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for the air in the sky. I'm grateful for the sunshine, you know, and start talking to yourself, because the more positive you throw in, the less that you're going to have negativity kind of just flashing its ugly, you know, head at you. Does that make sense? I'm serious. I mean, you might sound like a lunatic sometimes. I talk to myself out in public sometimes, because all of a sudden I might be out and all of a sudden the comparison game starts rolling in my head. I'm like, oh crap, here we go. Here we go. I'm going to have to start mind talking myself out of this. You know what I mean? You have to believe it. You have to believe it in order to receive it. And belief comes in from what you're telling yourself sometimes. So be careful what you're telling yourself. You know? You gotta always have the positive going in. What you focus on, you find, right? We hear Rod talk about that all the time. And, you know, when I talked about the decision, you know, and the mindset, you know, I would have a positive mindset prior to starting Isogenics and prior to a lot of work on myself. And I would have a positive mindset until things didn't go my way, until I had opposition, until somebody said something that made me not feel so good about myself, until I allowed somebody to have that kind of power over me. And when I came to Isogenics, I really was at rock bottom. And I really had no other choice. If you want something different, you have to do something different. And I knew that. And so I was committed to that. And I made the decision that my passion was going to be to love, to serve, to care about people, to take this all the way, to go until nothing was going to stop me. Nobody was going to derail me. And trust me, when you throw massive goals out there, life will try and throw you a curveball. You know, when you play, if any of you guys ever play baseball or softball? Okay, so as you know, not every pitch is a fastball right down the pipe. You know, wouldn't that be nice? Because then you know it's coming. You know, I can smack a fastball out of the park all day long. But you throw an up inside curveball at my chin, and I'm going down. And, you know, life is going to throw you curveballs sometimes. And you just got to wait on it and then pop it. You just got to pop it. And, you know, when you put big goals out there, life's going to throw you a curveball to see how bad you really want it. How bad do you really want it? And, you know, in my first few months in Isogenics, curveballs were being launched up at my chin all day long. And I had to put my money where my mouth is and my bat against that ball and say, yeah, I want this bad. I don't care how many times you try and throw at my head. I'm going to knock it out of the park every freaking time. And it was a decision. It was a decision. And I know that many of you have stated some big goals that you want. I've talked to many of you one-on-one to tell me how bad you want this. You really, really want this. And then something happens. Something happens. Somebody says something and you give all that power away. Why? Why are you doing that? Why are you sabotaging yourself? You have to ask yourself that. I don't want you to stay stuck there and beat yourself up if that's what you've done. Trust me, that doesn't serve you. But make yourself unstoppable. Make yourself unstoppable. If somebody came to you today and said, your life depends on this, would you let anything anybody says stop you? Mm-mm. If somebody says, I'm going to steal your children away if you don't do this, would that stop? Well, maybe it would, depending on the day. But seriously, I mean, you have to build this like your life depends on it, if that's what you want. You know, like I said, if you're happy where you're at, then keep doing what you're doing. But I'm going to be a betting girl to say that most of you are on this call because maybe your business or your life or your personal development or whatever is going on in your life isn't where you want it to be. Would that be a safe bet? Okay, so then why are we stopping ourselves when the curveball comes? Why do we lay on the ground and let it just overpower us? Please don't. I believe in you. I know you can do this. You just keep stepping up to the plate. Just keep stepping up to the plate. Yeah, we're going to talk about fear in a little bit. And this is one of my favorite things to talk about. You know, you guys know, most of you know I love Les Brown. And he talks about being a thermostat versus a thermometer. And this is huge. This is huge. You know, a thermometer, you know, let's say you're taking your temperature, and a thermometer, you know, goes up and down depending on where you're at.
Yeah,
You know?
It's not like our life is like so.
A thermometer basically goes off where your temperature is. Up, down, it is all dependent on you. Where is like with a thermostat, when you come into your house, mine's set at like 75 degrees. It is consistent no matter what happens outside. If it turns into 150 degrees out here in Arizona, my thermostat doesn't change. It isn't affected by anything around it because it's set. This is what it is. You need to be a thermostat. You need to stop changing depending on what your surroundings are, like a thermometer. This is really, really big. This is huge. Write it down. You want to be a thermostat. You can even hashtag that. Go ahead, hashtag, I'm a thermostat, baby. It's so important. When I made this switch, it changed everything. Because it doesn't matter what is around me. It doesn't matter who's coming at me. It doesn't matter who talks crap. It doesn't matter if I'm having a bad day. It doesn't matter if I have a medical crisis. I'm still the thermostat. I'm still the thermostat. It takes some adjusting internally sometimes, and sometimes the wiring can get a little haywire, but I'm still 100% consistent. That thermostat is locked in. Are you? Are you locked in? Or is your thermometer all over the place because you're affected by what this person says, or this crisis is happening, or maybe you're listening to yourself a little bit more than you're talking to yourself? I could be wrong, but I'm guessing that a lot of you are maybe where you're at and not happy with it because you're a thermostat. Or I'm sorry, you're a thermometer. Would any of you agree? I know. When I realized that, I was like, oh, that explains a lot. That explains a lot. I was a chameleon. I could change on a dime to whatever any situation was around me, I could adjust. And that isn't a good thing. I used to pride myself on that. You know, you can think of the thermometer, being a thermometer is like wearing masks, okay? You know, when I talk about smashing the masks, when you smash the masks, you're officially a thermostat. If you're wearing them, you're a thermometer. Just saying. So don't be afraid. I know it's scary. Well, you know, I'm going to end tonight with, you know, fear, because that is huge. Honestly, I believe it's the number one thing standing in most of your way. Right? All right. Mindset. So this is the other thing, and I've talked a lot about this with some friends of mine, and you know, there's a reason why when we go to events, they spend a lot of time on the why. And it usually is most everybody's favorite part, right? Would you agree? Like, we all love the why. It's a personal thing. It's what drives us most days. And, you know, when we start to talk about our vision and what we want for our life, and we talk about what we're passionate about and what our purpose is, sometimes you're saying all the right things. It sounds really, really pretty. However, your posture and the confidence that's actually exuding is like this big. I'm gonna tell you that 90% of communication has to do with your posture and your confidence. You can say all the right words and it won't matter. I can feel it. And I know if I can feel it, other people can feel it. I was on a call this morning with a bunch of people and they were amazing. And we were talking about purpose. And a few people would say, my purpose is to do this. And, you know, not everybody agrees. So I kind of word it this way, but my purpose is this. And my passion is this. I'm like, listen, if it is your passion, then you should be like unwavering. It doesn't matter who takes it the wrong way. Nobody can back you up on your heels. I mean, I don't always say the right things, and quite often I don't, and it usually doesn't come out as articulate as my mind thinks it is. However, there is no doubt that I have posture and confidence in anything I say. And even if it's a hot mess, people will pay attention, because that is communication. That is communication. So stop thinking that you have to have all the right words coming out. You have to believe it right here. And you have to feel it right here. And if you haven't got that confidence, you have to work on it. That is not something I can teach you. That is something that you have to work on every freaking day. And this is hard work. This is the hardest work of all. Learning you +2, them +2 is easy compared to that. Connecting with people on the street's easy compared to that. Believing in yourself and saying, you know what, this is what I stand for. This is what I believe in. I don't care who thinks what about me. I don't care if my family thinks I'm crazy, because they do sometimes. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. My purpose is to help people and serve people. My passion is to free people physically and financially. My vision is to have generations upon generations of my family taken care of for the rest of their lives. Now, are you going to tell me that anything you're going to tell me is going to rattle me from that? I think not. And even though that wasn't the most articulate of words, like, anybody that's listening to me, even if they don't like me, and this is the thing, a lot of people don't like me, and I'm okay with that. I rub people the wrong way sometimes, maybe some of you guys, and I'm totally okay with that. But when I do say what I say, there's a little bit of trust and respect, even if you don't like me. And I'm telling you, trust and respect will build a legacy. Being liked doesn't. So be okay with ruffling a few feathers. That posture, that confidence, that is everything in this. That is everything. And it's all going to come from working on yourself. Do that work before you do any other work. It has to come from the soul. And you really got to believe it if you're ever going to receive it. Does that make sense? That was really hard for me. You know, to be somebody that was such a chameleon that could adjust to every situation, that, although it was a good survival mechanism for most of my life, it was also a curse. Because when I got to this and I realized that adjusting to every situation basically told everyone I had no freaking backbone. Ouch. Now, if you want people to hitch their trailer to your truck, do you think they're going to want somebody that's got a firm, strong axle? They do. They don't want to be rolling down the street with you, connecting to you, throwing their entire life into this business, this journey, and have the wheels fly off the axle because your backbone isn't solid. That might be the very reason why people aren't starting with you. It's huge. When people are talking about health and wellness and weight and finances, it's very, very hard for people to talk about. It's very, very emotional and personal. They want to know that somebody's going to be there, that they believe that they're going to do this with you, and not just by saying the right things. You hearing me? This is really important. If you get nothing else from me tonight, this is it. And I understand some of you have some work to do on yourself. And that's totally okay. I came to Isogenics with 6 months of hardcore work on myself. Like boot camp for 6 months. So I understand that maybe you're coming to this journey, maybe not where I'm at. So don't compare yourself. Don't compare yourself to somebody else that has put in the hours. It's totally okay. And I'm not standing in judgment. All I'm saying is if you're not where you're at, I'll be betting with you that that's probably the area you need to really grow. It doesn't mean you stop connecting and you don't keep the main thing. It just means you're going to have to work that much harder. And it's worth it. You're worth it. And the people you're going to bless are worth it. Would you agree? Awesome. So sometimes when we have some success in this business, or we get to a place that we're really happy in this business, or we think we're there, we've arrived, all of a sudden we take the foot off the gas and think, cool, I've made it, I'm retiring, awesome, this residual income rocks. And the next thing you know, 3 months later, your team is falling apart, you hear crickets, the whole team has gone dark. And I'm here to tell you, your team, your family, your everything, your whole environment will do what you do, not what you say to do. So if I stop doing what I do, the chances of a lot of you falling off would probably be pretty big. My bet is most of you wouldn't even be working on your 90-day game plan if we didn't have this every week. And it's okay, because I probably wouldn't be either if I didn't commit to it. I'm just being real and honest with you. So I'm doing it equally because I want you to continue to do it. Because even though maybe I've hit some goals, you haven't. And I want you to know, if maybe you've hit some goals within yourself, your team hasn't, and you promised them you were going to help them. So if you take your foot off the gas, you're hurting them. You're hurting your family. And I know none of you want that. And I understand this is hard work, and sometimes we feel like we need a break. I'm telling you, take 3 years of no breaks with this, and you will reap a lot of rewards. And the best part about it is the people that are coming with you will do the same thing. That is why our organization has grown as fast as it has, because I haven't taken my foot off the gas. I really haven't. And when you love what you do, why would you? I mean, seriously, we can do this from anywhere. We can fit it into the pockets of our life. Why would I ever stop? It's so fun. And I know a lot of you, I know a lot of your whys. I know I've seen your vision boards, and I don't want you to stop because I do. The best way you can help your team is to continue to do the work. The mundane, the connecting, the enrolling. You don't have to be a manager. You don't have to call and check in on them every 5 seconds. You have to pour love and greatness into them, but you have to start with you. And since we were talking about this subject about taking our foot off the gas and mindset, because that's a mindset sometimes. Sometimes that's like an employee mindset. We're like, cool, I'm done punching the clock. I'm gonna take a break. It's vacation week. And, you know, we're entrepreneurs. You want to be a 2%er. You've all committed to say you want to be a 2%er. So we have to start behaving like a 2%er. And 2%ers don't take their foot off the gas. We can kind of go idle for a little bit, but their foot's always right there. Always. Always. And so, Christy Lawrence, if you're on, I know you said you would be. So if you're on, I saw you earlier with your cute little ball cap on. So unmute yourself. I want to talk to you real quick. This is going to be good. Because she had that experience, you know, when she started Isogenics, it was for her health. And, you know, I did cast the vision for her and I said, let's get you feeling good first. And I knew, you know, what was driving her. I knew what she wanted for her life. And I knew she had a specific number in mind that she needed to get to in order to not get a job. So somebody else wouldn't be taking her kids to work. And what happened is, and I'll let her tell the whole story, is she hit that number and you know what? She was like, cool. And she took her foot off the gas. And Christy, are you unmuted?
Yes, I'm right here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I want you to talk about mindset and keeping a mindset of keeping your foot on the gas and what happens when you don't. And I know that you know that I'm not calling you out to embarrass you or anything.
Well, we've talked about this several times, so I'm thrilled to talk about it because it was a huge learning experience for me, and
exactly
someone won't make the same mistake I did.
So kind of talk about, you know, take them to the beginning and briefly. You know, we don't need to go into the whole story about, you know, why you started, but where the shift came where you decided, well, I'm going to share this with people. And then, okay, I needed 14 cycles a week in order to not get the job. And then what happened when you hit that, and then what you've done to readjust. And now you're just on fire and you're doing the do every day, no matter what's happening in your life. So you take it from there.
Okay. Yeah, when I first started, I didn't want anything to do with the business side. You know, Tracy will even tell you that, I mean, the day that I enrolled as her personally enrollee, I didn't even know her. She was a complete stranger to me. She brought up the business. I shut her down on that. I was there for a very different reason. Like most, it didn't take long before I realized that I certainly didn't want to not use it anymore. If I could do it without paying for it, even better. So I slid into it slowly. But then once I caught that vision, that very first time that I caught that vision, I had just been having a conversation with my husband. And up until that point, I was a high school English teacher. And I had taken some time off to be a stay-at-home mom. And we had decided that I was going to stay home until my youngest was in full-day school. And when my youngest was back in full-day school, then I would return to teaching. So while I was home, I got my master's degree and did, you know, different things to, again, continue to pave that road as a teacher for life. And then the desires of my heart changed. And I suddenly realized that I didn't want to leave my kids. I didn't want to have somebody else. I don't have any family out here. They're all in Kansas and I'm in Arizona. And suddenly I started to panic. I started to realize that, well, who am I going to have pick up my kids from school, and who's going to hold on to them until we're done with work? And well, but wait, that's supposed to be me. It's supposed to be me. And my heart changed, and there was nothing I could do about it. There was no preparing for it. It just was. It was supposed to be me. And so I knew in my head, you know, how you have people who will write their little tags everywhere on what their goal is. And it's something that reminded them of that goal. For me, when I went back to Tracy and she told me, okay, this is what you have to do. And when she told me about U+2, then +2, and just even a brief overview, I knew I was already doing it. I was already talking about Isogenics because it was working for me. I knew I was already sharing it with those that I loved. I knew people were already noticing it about me. I just wasn't making the connection that she which is what she was telling me, that you're already doing it. You're doing what you need to do. Keep going. And when that happened and that light switch went off, it was all of a sudden just game on for me. And what I had everywhere in my house, written on mirrors, on sticky notes, on my printer, was the time 2:40. And 2:40 is the time that my kids got out of school. And what that meant to me was I knew that on August 14th of that year at 2:40, I knew whose car was going to be pulling up in front of my kids' school, and damn it, it was going to be mine. It was going to be mine. There was no other option. So I hit the ground running with everything I could. And when she says something like, you go like your life depends on it, mine did. The life that I wanted depended on it. And if I didn't do it by this day and my son started school, I had made the deal with my husband that I would return to teaching if I wasn't doing something else that was going to at least make as much as I made as a teacher. And so in my Virgo perfectionist brain, I calculated what that meant, and I broke down the weeks, and I figured out how many cycles that was, and I contacted Tracy, and I said 14 cycles a week. That's what I have to get to, 14 cycles a week, and that's going to meet my teaching income, and I can stay home. I can be a mom. And she said, then get after it. You're already on your way. And I did not look back. But here's where I made a really bad mistake. I ended up doing everything that I needed to do and hitting that goal in record time. I was at like 7 consultants. I was knocking on that executive door, and I was only 4 or 5 months in. I don't even remember. And suddenly I hit that 14 cycles, and I was able to make the decision that I was going to stay home. And you know what I did? I sat in that for a minute, kind of marinated in the fact that I met that why. And it was great. And you should celebrate that. I'm not saying you shouldn't celebrate it, because it's an amazing, amazing feat. But I'm telling you right now, the biggest thing that I learned, where my mistake was I did not immediately, when I met my first why, set my next one. That is so, so important. And I didn't do that. I thought, I'm just going to enjoy this for a minute. I'm home with my kids, so I'm going to play with my kids, and I'm going to enjoy this life. And I didn't even do it for very long. And like that, 7 consultants went to 1. I mean, like that. And I started all over. And Tracy will tell you, it took me over a year to get back up to where I was, clear back when I started. Over a year. And it was all because of something simple enough to say, when you meet your first why, celebrate that and love that, but immediately set your next one and get that vision to that next thing and go for that too. Because especially when you're first getting started, just like I wasn't anywhere close to that ability to be able to just hang back and everything was going to still be there for me. It doesn't work that way in your first year, your first couple of years. You gotta feed into that every single day, and I didn't. And boy, did I learn from it. And what I had to tell myself after that was I could either dwell on it and I could beat myself up, which I'm really good at doing. And I sit there all the time and say, oh, why did I do this? Or if I hadn't done it, my goodness, think about where I'd be even now at this point. Or I can say, well, I sucked at life there for a minute. I didn't get that one right. And I learned from it and I moved on. But you better believe every goal I make, I check it off and I look at that next one on the list. And if you do that and you keep focusing on the fact that there isn't just one why, and if you only have one, you're not thinking big enough, because you're going to meet it if you're doing everything right. So meet it, and then what's your next one? Like, go after it. And if you don't, it's very easy to do what I did. And it's very humbling. And I had my tail between my legs for a while. I even did the whole like, oh, no, this is right for me. And then I, pulled my panties back up and was like, fine, and then it took a year to get back and everything's fine again. But I learned my lesson. Hopefully you guys won't do what I did there. Keep your whys, figure out your next one after your first one, and just keep going after them, because they're always, that one's just as important as the first one that you meet.
You're awesome. And it's so funny because when I do training on the why, I don't just call it the why, I call it the evolution of the why, because it does change. You know, for you, your first why was to get healthy. So was mine, you know, and then at my first event, oh, okay, I never want to have to rely on child support again. Boom, hit that why. The next why was, okay, boom, I want to pay for college. Okay, crush that. Now I want to do this, I want to do that. And you nailed it. You have to have your why always evolving. And as you grow yourself, you're going to stop playing small anyway. You're going to be thinking bigger and bigger and bigger. And I know that, I mean, even for a while, Christy was a little bit mad at me because I did tell her like it was. I'm like, listen, where you're at, you know, your team is doing what you did. That's why there's nothing, because other than the one, you know, everybody else kind of was following your lead. And when you're a 2%er and when you choose to be a 2%er and have those habits and behaviors, you got to walk the walk you talk. So I'm so blessed, first of all, that you're in my life and that I love you. I learned from you too. And I think that this happening to you was awesome because it has been a great teaching tool, not just for you, but for me, for somebody I care about so much. It was very painful to watch it happen, but I kind of had to not, and this is the difference between people that manage and people that lead, is I very easily could have gotten on the phone with Christy and be like, what are you doing? Why are you taking the summer off? Excuse me, your entire downline is falling apart. And the thing is sometimes you got to sit back. I was going to match her energy for energy, and she wasn't putting any out there, so I wasn't going to give into it, and I wasn't going to push her. She needed to fall on her face a little bit to really understand the magnitude of it, and that is the difference between me and maybe somebody that is in management mode. I won't do it. And if I had gotten on the phone with her and was harping on her, I'd be her boss, which she didn't want a boss. I don't want to be a boss. And if I wanted to teach kindergarten, I would teach kindergarten. And, you know, sometimes when we do that, and you do that because we want to be a 2%er and we think that's what we're supposed to do, you're going to probably chase somebody away that really had a lot of potential. If I had done that to her, she would have been like, I don't like this network marketing thing. Who are you? Just because you're my upline doesn't mean you're my boss. You know, things like that. So it was hard for me to watch you do it, but I knew, because I know your soul and I know your character, that you got enough grit and grace in you that you would turn this around. And now, I mean, your business center is solid and just getting better and better and better. And she hit Crystal Executive while on vacation in Hawaii in the summertime, which is the hardest time to do it. And you did it. And you did it with grace and beauty and class. And you're continuing, even with everything you got going on in your life. You have a husband that travels overseas for months at a time sometimes. And I'm just really, really proud of you. And thanks for using this little humble moment to really, I mean, I was reading the comments as you were speaking, and you have helped a lot of people, not feel like a schmuck because they've done it. And it's a great lesson for a lot of people. When you hit that goal, you step on the gas even farther. You step on it. And that was really the thing I did in the beginning. And I would always have a new why and keep going, and then serve and love and care and serve and love and care. And next thing you know, you're hitting that next why. So, well,
and the match energy, like what you were saying, the matching energy to energy, it's absolutely true. As much as I was pissed when it happened. And I was pissed because I didn't want to take the blame for it. It sucks to take the blame for stuff like that, you know, because I worked so hard to get there. And then you have to realize, like, oh, I'm the one that let it go, to enjoy the life that I worked so hard for. But it's still, I wasn't ready. My business wasn't ready for it. And what Tracy's saying is true. If she would have called and micromanaged and told me everything to do, I would have learned nothing. I really wouldn't have. I mean, as much as I can say that now, I wouldn't have learned from it. I wouldn't have figured out what I needed to adjust so that I know it's never going to happen again, which I can say now because I went through the fire with it and it sucked. So I know that that's not going to happen again because she let me deal with it, you know, and at the same time said, do you see what you did? Yeah, I did. And then I had to get back up. And you're all going to go through that in some way or another. You're going to have days where you're going to get kicked down or you're going to screw up, and you just have to brush it off, get back up. If it's your fault, own it, own your successes, but own your failures because they are all ours, and just keep going after it. We all have a journey that is going to have some of both. So learn from them and move forward.
You're so awesome. I love you. Thanks for helping.
You're
us.
awesome. I love you.
Love you more. Awesome. So, I saw some of the comments and people were asking about how to make the shift and adjusting, your mindset. And, it is really just a decision that you're going to be unshakable. It is a decision that you're going to look at your vision board that you are so passionate about and let nothing stand in your way. And when I say, unstoppable and unshakable, it doesn't mean you have to be a jerk. And the old me was totally a jerk. I would use intimidation and power because that was stemming from fear and insecurity. When I say I'm unshakable and unstoppable now, it's with conviction and with confidence and with posture. And it's okay if people don't agree with me. Like, listen, I totally get why you're saying that. I totally get my past behaviors warranted that comment in your mind. However, it's just it's a decision. There is no try. I hate the word try. Stop using the word try. There's only do or you don't. Do. No try, do. I sound like Yoda now. Okay, so I just wanted to touch that. So the evolution of the why is really, really important with your mindset to standpoint. Okay, so the next topic is connecting. And I'm not going to touch too long on this because we're going to probably touch this a lot over this 90 days. But, it's really, really important that you are showing up offline what you are posting online. And I think that's where a lot of people sometimes, you get real brave on social media and then you go out into the world and you're like, don't look at me. Please don't talk to me. And I was one of those people. So I'm being completely honest because I'm an introvert. I don't love going out and meeting new people. It's uncomfortable for me. Fear. It's all fear usually. But I've gotten a lot better at it. Now I just love when I make the decision to actually leave the house, it is with intention. It is with, hey, I just want to go smile at people today. It isn't necessarily to go connect with them, suck them into my Facebook page, and then enroll them in Isogenics. It really has nothing to do with that. It has to go, it has to do with connecting with people. And you know what? Like I said earlier, even though I am an introvert down deep, we all have this need for connection and love. Love is one of the most needed human need. And it doesn't mean that like romantic love necessarily, but a smile is loving. Every decision you make and everything action you take is based on either fear or love. And so just sit on that for a minute. So when you're out connecting with people and you're afraid to talk to them, that is fear. That isn't love. So even if you're like hiding out, know that you're withholding love when you're afraid. And that was really hard for me to accept. I was like, shoot, no, because I know how loving my heart is. But every time I choose to play small, every time I choose to look the other way, every time I choose not to say, you know what, you're so pretty, or you've got a great smile. Every time I choose not to do that, I'm acting out of fear, not love. It isn't loving. Fear is not loving. So no, every time that you're holding back, you're not acting in love. And I know that you all have beautiful, loving hearts. I know you do. So it's easy when you kind of, like for me, when I could make that connection and I was like, oh, well, that's easy. Everything's going to be love. Everything. There's no fear then. Seriously, what do you have to be afraid of if everything is out of love? Even if you don't receive it back, giving love doesn't mean you have an expectation that you're going to receive it back. That's conditional love. You need to give love freely, whether or not you get anything back in return. And you'll be surprised when you give it without expecting anything in return. The blessings that shine down on you are just massive. Okay? So connecting with new people, get out of your comfort zone. For me, this was hard. But in the beginning, because I had no friends here in Arizona other than Kimmy and my 2 kids, literally, that's pretty much all I had here in Arizona when I was starting a network marketing business. I cleaned house. I had to go make some new friends and actually show my face out here in Gilbert, Arizona. And it was scary because a lot of people didn't like me out here. I had some habits and patterns that were kind of frowned upon. Let's just say that. And so I had to go meet some new friends and go to new gyms and take classes that I didn't like and take yoga and actually, be quiet and that, quiet my mind. And holy moly, that was a struggle. But I love it now. And I've met some great people doing yoga, and they've taught me a few things. They add value to my life. And you know what? Because I'm giving in love, I'm adding value to theirs. And you know what? Some of them are now in my isogenics business and some of my closest friends. How awesome is that? If I let fear control me, instead of making a decision out of love that I want to go meet new people because that is loving. Like, who knows if these people would be in my life. If you're a mom, get into moms groups. Be the team mom on your sports teams that your kids are in. I've been a team mom on every single team that my kid was on. It is a thankless job, but I've met some amazing, amazing, amazing people. And you know what? You get to know people very well. So get involved. Volunteer in your kids' classrooms if you can. That's one of the best things about having a network marketing business. If you're able to do it now with some freedom, volunteer more. I was actually a volunteer on a field trip. I never could do that before because I was always working. That was awesome. And you meet other kids' parents. Take a class if you're into cooking or knitting or horseback riding or anything. A lot of the park districts have really inexpensive classes that you can do. Try something new. You get the little park district, catalog over the summer and the fall. Pick something new. Join a softball league. Join a bowling league. Do something different. Try it. You might like it. Stop letting fear get in your way. Well, I don't know anybody. Who cares? You're going to meet a friend. You're going to learn something about yourself. All the growth happens outside the comfort zone anyway. So if you're playing small in your little box of 4 friends, nothing's going to happen there in that box. Okay? You're just going to have a box of rocks. It's no good. So go challenge yourself out to meet new people. Look up. Look up. Look in people's eyes. You know how little people look in each other's eyes? It's like nothing. Nothing. But it really important, if you're getting a little bit Facebook savvy and you're real brave on Facebook and coming out and copy and pasting some power quotes, you better be that offline. I'm just telling you. It's really easy to copy and paste a really good quote or even, borrow somebody's content, which is totally okay. But you got to put your money where your mouth is, and you have to actually step into that verbiage. You can't hide behind a quote, somebody else's quote, or even your own quote. That's real easy to do when nobody's reacting to you. Be who you are offline with whatever you're putting online. Because when people actually see you out in public and they've been following you on Facebook, whether or not they're liking or commenting, they're making sure there's a congruency there. I promise you. Because even the people that weren't liking me very much, they were watching. And then as I would slowly show my face out here in public, it was matching. And it wasn't just BS. And it wasn't just a manipulative way to suck people into my isogenics business. Be who you are offline with whatever you're putting online. Kim Acker, I saw you on here. Where are you? You can unmute yourself. We're going to talk about connecting with you a little bit and getting out of your comfort zone and all that good stuff. Where are you, Kimmy? I saw you on here.
Hi, I'm right here.
Hi. How are you? So I want you to talk a little bit tonight about what you've learned about yourself and how, because, you've been, almost 3 years now? Like, really? And I've watched you shine. I mean, you've always been beautiful and loving, but I've watched you really grow yourself and evolve through this in your connecting, in your congruency with whatever you are one place. I mean, the way you show up one area is where you're showing up everywhere. And kind of talk us through for a few minutes about what you did to grow yourself, when you figured out you needed to make a little shift, because we all need to make shifts. Nobody just comes out of the womb saying, I'm going to be this great network marketing connecting genius. And you're amazing at it. So kind of share with everybody what you've done to really grow yourself and where you are continuing to grow yourself in this area.
Do you want personal or business or both? Can they both kind of tie in together? Okay, so personal, which also ties in with the business, is, I found myself at the beginning not wanting the business like Christy and a lot of other people. And I struggled because I thought that I had to lead like other people. And it was uncomfortable. And that's not me. So when I was able to learn that, no, I can learn from leaders, but I don't have to be them. I can still be me. But I had to figure out who I was as a leader. But through that process, I think I just gained a lot of confidence in my personal journey. When you release the pounds and the inches, if you don't see, when you look in the mirror and you see the smaller you and the healthier you don't really get to enjoy it. So you have to find a way to enjoy every day and every cleanse and every process and every shake. And it just kind of all grows in together. Business wise for me too, this last NYKO, you even called me out and you said that you saw a shift in me. And you know what? I was comfortable with that. I didn't try to argue. I didn't try to say, oh no, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. It was, because I felt it too. And this last after NYKO was the first time I ever truthfully completed a full 90-day. I mean, from start to finish, everything, writing it down and believing it. And as I started doing that, I started seeing that, things come true when you write them down. And it just started to just keep growing. And oh my gosh. I think there was a time when I really wanted everybody to like me. And, I would reach out and encourage people. But I did, I wanted them to like me. And that was wrong. And it just made me feel even more empty. And I think when I realized that I had to like me, and pouring into Healthy Mind and Body, now it's round 3, okay? But just continuing to really open up and see me for all of me, it just helped me to see that, I can encourage and love on other people. And it's for them. It's not for me. And that was so freeing. And it showed in my business. My team is growing. I'm learning how to be present but not pushy. But you're right. I mean, they do what I do. And I'm doing, and I have good days and bad days. But, I hope I'm being consistent. I know that people are watching me. I still have people reaching out to me 2.5 years, 3 years. They've been watching me, but it's just, you just have to like yourself and just be okay with you, and I hope that answered it.
You know what? It's funny, Kim, and I'm going to just be really honest with you because I did notice the shift, and just like with Christy, I saw what was happening with you. I saw that even though your heart is like one of the most beautiful hearts I've ever in my entire life seen, I've never met anybody like you. I knew part of you was doing it, even though you are loving, you wanted so badly because I know what I know about you, that there was that hole missing, that you needed this validation that you were enough, that you were good enough, that you were liked. And it was really painful for a little while to watch because I could see where it would implode on you sometimes. And just like with Christy, I kind of had to watch it and be like, oh, it's going to hurt. This is going to hurt for her. However, she has to figure this out. And you did. And when I see the shift, it had nothing to do with your business center, even though that naturally happened. I saw, and I have goosebumps just saying this to you because I am so proud of you. There's a completely different Kim. Same heart, same beautiful love, spirit, but that posture and confidence that I talked about, you said all the right things before. However, your posture, I knew there was something missing. And you've got it now. Same words, but the posture is totally different. And that that love and light that you are so beautiful at shining, it's so congruent with who you feel, what you feel about yourself today. And so I'm really proud of you. What you are doing, not just in Isogenics, but I mean, outside of Isogenics, the way you volunteer, the way, I don't know how you keep up with what you do, and you know little things about people, and just the little things that you do that nobody else does. I just want you to know how much I appreciate and see it in you. And I know you don't need to hear that for me to know that it's good, where before I think maybe you did need to hear it from me. Just know, I know.
Oh my gosh.
And I know how hard you've worked to get where you are today here. Not in your business, but ironically, when you did do the work on you, your business is taken off and you're duplicating it. So thank you. Really proud of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome, honey. Proud of you. I was going to talk about social media tonight, but I'm going to save that topic because that will go on for hours. But I really, because we are talking about connecting, and it is such a human thing. And I think that we go to work to complicate even that, just the little things like Kim just said, when she could love people without expecting anything in return, or even, wanting them to like her, it just became natural. So as you are out talking to people, as you are meeting new people, as you are getting out of your fear box and loving people, you're going to make connections that you didn't even see coming. And you're like, oh my goodness, I just made a new friend. Oh my goodness, I just made a new friend. And it's so awesome when you do it and you have no expectation but to love. And Kim is a beautiful example of that. So I'm not even going to talk about social media because we want to talk about a little bit of time management. I'm going to manage our time tonight. We're going to be done by 8 o'clock as promised. And, one of the things that I have not, this has not been my strength. I'm not going to say I'm not good at it because that puts garbage in my head. It's been something I've had to really work on, because I used to pride myself for having a rock solid memory. And I'm telling you, I'm 44 now, and I just can't remember things like I used to. And when you have all these moving parts and, you're a single parent, you've got this kid here and this kid there and that mortgage due. And all of a sudden, if you're not like putting it down on paper, you drop the ball. And when you drop the ball, then you start to beat yourself up. Anybody else relate, or is that just me? Okay, good. I'm not alone. I didn't think so. So time management has been something I have worked really, really hard on, and it has been a game changer, not just for me, but my fear level. I'm not going to call it stress level because stress is just fear. It has changed everything in my entire household. It has changed everything. So a few things that I do, I'm just going to say it because it's true. I'm obsessed with sticky notes. I just, come on, best invention ever. I'm obsessed. But I have them everywhere, and they're a little annoying, and the sticky never lasts long enough for as much as I move them around to the different playing parts. However, I'm writing things down. Love the sticky note. However, I can't take the sticky notes with me all the time. And so I needed to kind of wean myself off the sticky notes a little bit. Little sticky note anonymous. I had to go. And something I learned from my really good friend, Emily Vavra, I went to something non-Isogenics related where she was talking, and she, oh my goodness, changed my life. So I have 3 notebooks now. I mean, I have like 8,000, but 3 work with me every day. So you're going to want to write this down. This is going to change your life right here. Okay? One of them is my to-do list. Every night before I go to bed, and this is key, this changed my sleeping, this changed my life, this changed how I wake up every morning and attack my day. Before I go to bed, I just, okay, if you're like me, everything used to have to be really pretty and perfect and written perfectly and different colors and highlighted. And oh my goodness, if the penmanship wasn't great, we'd start over. Oh my God, seriously, I'm such a freak show. But that's how I used to operate. And so I would write to-do notes. And I was a hot mess and forgetting crap, and then the anxiety and the fear. Anybody else? Okay, so get over your handwriting. Mine sucks. So a to-do one. So every night, literally, before I take my shot of Ionics and get into bed, Tracy starts writing down just messy, just No rhyme or reason to it, no categories, no boxes, just boom, 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 boom. Because you know what? Now I can sleep. Because if all that crap is floating around in my head, you know what happens? I don't care how many squirts of sleep spray. I don't care how many shots of Ionics. This steel noggin of mine will bullet through that if I don't dump it onto a to-do list. So every night before you go to bed, do your to-do list, throw everything on there, and you know what? You're not going to hit it all usually, and that's totally okay, because we're going to carry that. I've got a sticky note that I carried into my to-do list, and, you know, stuff will carry, and all of a sudden, you know, you're going to have to prioritize your day as your day goes on. Crap happens, life happens. Maybe you're in a crappy mood and you don't feel like doing that one today. Don't stay there. I'll give you one day to put it off. But doing that, seriously, will change your life. Now, the other one I have is called a brain dump. This is the brain dump. This is when you're driving and all of a sudden, like when I do yoga, this kind of happens, or it used to. I've gotten better about focusing, or when I used to try to meditate, all of a sudden I'd be like a squirrel, like I'm like, what is happening right now? It's like all the pistons are firing in all these different areas. I'm like, what the heck is happening? So if I'm driving and can't write it down, but I have all three of these notebooks with me at all times, I had to get a new bag because I needed to carry it because my little purse wasn't doing it. What I'll do is I'll speak it into like a voice memo on my phone while I'm driving and transfer it onto paper. I know a lot of us are electronically savvy and all that, and so am I. I mean, electronics run my life, but there's so much power when you take your mind from pen to paper. Stay old school with me on this one. I promise you, there's a lot of power in it. You can put it in your little notes or voice memo and everything, but then transfer it to a brain dump journal. And like I said, no rhyme or reason. Just like, oh, well, this sounds like a good idea. I'm going to try that one. Like, let's say I want to take a class, you know, and then you can go revisit your brain dump. But if you don't put this stuff down, all of a sudden you're going to be like, you know, those little vacuums that move through the house, like on autopilot, a Rombi or something like that. I don't even know what they're called, but you're basically, if you don't dump your brain, a Roomba, yes. If you don't brain dump, you're going to be like that little Roomba bumping into walls until you remember something else. Like literally. So get it out of your brain, dump it into a book. And you know what? It's really cool to go back and like, wow, what was happening that day where all that kind of greatness came out of me? And you can revisit it. And then maybe you can get an action plan. Some of my best ideas that I've done came as a result of a brain dump. That if I didn't put it into paper, who knows if I ever would have revisited that idea again. Awesome. The third journal, this is dreams, gratitude. This is inspiration. This is soul work. You need a soul work one. Because the brain dump is just like the stuff at the surface. This is where the soul stuff happens. And this is where your growth will happen. This is where you can be really vulnerable. This is where you can be really honest. This is where you can put the mirror up in front of yourself. And I'm telling you, these three things will change your life. Keep it old school. Use a pen and paper. No highlighters, no fancy colors. Just be you. Raw and real, pen to paper. And maybe even a sticky note in there. Okay? Seriously, that'll change your life. Okay? The journals, brain dump, to-do list, inspiration, gratitude, soul work. Soul medicine. We'll call that one soul medicine. Cool? Awesome. Writing out your day hour by hour. You know what was really cool? Joey's got a note on the counter hour by hour for his day-to-day. Like, people do what you do, not what you say to do. And they've been watching. Casey, I know you're watching here tonight. I need to see your little dump list. She's so funny. But, you know, scheduling your day out hour by hour will take a lot of that fear that you're not going to get stuff done away. And I know when I don't write it down, you know what happens is nothing gets done because I'm confused, and confused people do nothing. So even if you can't stick to it hour by hour, at least kind of know, oh, it's 2 o'clock. I should be at Isogenics picking up my e-shots right now. You know what I mean? Really, really awesome. And you know what? You got to block in prayer and meditation if that's for you. Totally important for me. That's a non-negotiable. An hour of either yoga, gym, moving my body, no electronics, nothing. Shut down completely from all electronics other than music or some positive podcast or something when I'm doing that. Or sometimes it's just quiet meditation music. Block that hour in. Your family time. Like seriously, I know we all want to build this business, but you know, making dinner and then checking your messages, making dinner, checking messages, that doesn't work, and your family will be like hating your guts. Block out family time. Have the conversation with your family. Say, these hours are ours and only ours. I will not answer my phone. I will put it in a drawer. I'll put it in the other room. I won't answer emails. And you make that happen. Block it in though. And then, you know, when it's on paper, it's harder to break that. Whereas if you're kind of just flying aimlessly through your day, you're going to compromise things that are important to you. And the next thing you know, a week, a month will pass by and you're frustrated as all get out. Does that sound like anybody? I know that's how I was operating it. And I was bitter and I needed a lot more ionics than I needed today. I'm telling you, you won't need as much ionics if you start doing this stuff. It's changed my life. Make sure 80% of your work time is doing the income producing activities, connecting, enrolling, connecting. I know these Zoom calls are awesome. This is only 20% of your time. Okay. Managing your ISA friends on Facebook. We'll go over that another day, but I know that a lot of you are working hard on limiting your time on Facebook with your ISA friends. It's okay to follow them and see what they're doing, but if you're finding yourself get distracted, then you may just want to completely shut off your notifications and just be very mindful and intentional when you get on Facebook. Honestly, Facebook and social media is probably the biggest time sucker on the planet if you're not super intentional. It is also one of the things that can explode your business, but you have to be intentional and mindful when you do it. Okay, we'll touch on that more another day. Chanel, are you on here? If you are, unmute yourself. You know, Chanel has a very successful career. She has a young child. She has a husband that travels all the time. And she's built a huge organization all in the pockets of her life. And, you know, I know that time management has to come into play when you're doing all those things. I mean, she's probably making more with Isogenics than she is with her job, I'm guessing, or very close. But she loves what she does. She's great at what she does. However, she still has to manage her time. So Chanel, I heard you, I think, pop on. If you want to kind of share what your day looks like, how you've managed to still keep it all together and do it as beautifully as you do it. Are you there?
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
Oh, look at how cute you are. So good to see you.
Hi. You guys, it's hard. It's not easy. So I know Tracy throws it out there that, you know, I do all these things, but I'm telling you, it's hard as heck. I'm here. My husband's out of town. I don't know. Oh, he's somewhere in Spain right now. And I'm like trying to do a 90-day game plan, pulling my hair out. And my mom's here. And yesterday, let me tell you, like nothing went as planned, nothing. So you got to be able to flex. And that's the thing. Like and that's the good thing about this versus a job is that you can flex this and make time for it later. The job, you got to make it happen that day. Like if you don't succeed that day, done. You know, with this, you know, you can start all over the next day and be flexible with yourself. But with my job, it's like I got to get it done that day, no matter how long it takes. I won't see my kid all day. Here, you know, whatever happens, he has a tantrum, we have a bad day, I get no sleep. Guess what? I can do it the next day. That's why this is amazing. But it's funny, when I first started dating my husband, and I noticed he wasn't getting his work done. I'm like, you know, the times you have is between 9 p.m. and midnight. That's going to be your work time. And what do you know? It's pretty much what I do now. I'm a late night person. When I get up in the morning, my job requires I get up, I check my emails, I go to work. And during my commutes, that's when I follow up with people. My teammates, if they always text me in the morning, hey, Cynthia, what's up? Meet us on our AM. She's like, hey, can I touch base with you? I was like, yes, I'll call you when I'm on my way to work. So I'm driving to Orange County or somewhere, and I'll call my teammates. I'll follow up with them. I'll schedule some, on my drive home traffic, I'll schedule some appointments. If people, a lot of people work. So I'm finding myself that nighttime after dinner, kids are asleep, that PM appointments are great because my network are all working moms. So they're great with my schedule too, you know, talking after 8 o'clock. So it just works, you know, my network, I mean, we are who we're, you know, surrounded with. So it's just making sure that you stick to what you say you're gonna do though. Like how many hours a week are you gonna spend on this? And you're actually gonna spend it, because if you don't have business hours, you don't have a business. You really don't. You're hobbying it. So when I look at my week, I look and see like when my husband has things to do, when I have work and the open gaps, and that's when I make it happen. When I was doing really well, I think I was a solid 5 hours a week. And to me, with what I do with my job, and I was like, ooh, you know what, 5 hours, that's not a really long time. But if you actually hit a timer and you let it go for an hour and that's all you do and you block everything out, like my husband already knows. When this one week I was on fire and I would come home from work and I was like, all right, babe, I was like, I'm coming in hot. He goes, oh man, how many people are you signing up tonight? I was like, you're taking the kid. I come home, you're taking the kid. I can't have anything to do. I got to do this solid. So I'd walk in, babe, I'm coming in hot, handed over my kid who was like, I think Phoenix, he was a year old at the time, handed over Phoenix, watch Phoenix, I got to do what I got to do. And I was enrolling people until like 1 a.m. because that's when I had to do it. I mean, you know, that's the time I had. I was exhausted, but man, I made a lot of money that week. So I learned from the beginning, you know, this is a serve, you're here to serve people. So if you need to do it late, you need to do it late. It's not about you. It's whenever they can get it done too. So I say, you know what, give me a list of dates and times and I'll pick one. Mm-hmm. That's it. You know, let me know and then I'll pick it. And then in my amazing phone here, you just click on there and say, Suri, remind me I have an appointment at 9 p.m. on Thursday. Done. She's going to remind you. So it's that easy. But electronics, they have to remind me. I'm like, oh my God, my appointment. And I'm like, Jose, take Phoenix. I have an appointment right now. I might have forgot, but I'm not going to forget because Suri reminded me. This is my assistant until I am a millionaire, Tracy. Very here. Then I'll get one. But for now, it's my phone.
Yeah, she's my backup too, trust me. Because you know what, it's one of those things, you know what? And again, if I put it in there and do exactly what you said, I'm not freaking out like I'm forgetting something. I know it'll happen. And exactly, I'll be like, oh crap. Like I gotta go somewhere else and go hide in a closet because I've committed to this. You know, I think that's really, really important that you are stressing. This is hard and it is a commitment and it's huge. You know, when you say you want this, then you're going to have to give up some things and some free times. And you've had that conversation with Jose and he knows I'm coming in hot. Oh, okay. I'm handling the kiddo. And because you've had that conversation, you know, he's very respectful. And, you know, when it is family time, it's family time. You do make it look easy. I know it's not. I'm super proud of you. Any other tips that you can give to them as far as when you're fitting this in the pockets of your life? Because I'd say 60 to 70% of people that are in Isogenics are fitting this in the pockets of your life. Any other tips that you would give people on how you do that?
I would say the biggest thing is communication.
Mm-hmm.
So communication with your family about your goals and what you want, because I'm not going to lie. I was doing this and, you know, I was rocking the house and all of a sudden my husband's like, all of a sudden I was like, had a team, I had calls, like, you know, it was more than enrolling people. And my husband, he got a little like, you know, what about my time? Remember, I'm supposed to be doing this from this time to this time. I was like, hey, you like the debt free, you like this, it's going to get better and I'm going to keep going. And so I need your help with this. It's like the hard talk with him. It's like, you like all this freedom that I get to have and, you know, all these options that we have for our son. You like that? All right. Well, this is what's giving us that extra time and, you know, all this, you know, we're not stressed anymore. That's what's giving us all that. So it's, you know, communication is huge because this guy, he's tough.
Yeah.
You got to handle him. So I have my mom here. I told her, like, Mom, you're going to have to, like, watch this kid for a little bit because I have, you know, you have to communicate with the people who are going to be helping you and your family and who are going to support you.
That's amazing advice, because I think so many times when you have a spouse or anybody in your life or even your children, mine gave me a little bit of that kind of pushback too, until I had the, listen, you like this, you like this, you like this. This is what's making that happen. And I promise you, I will honor our family time hours, but you need to cut me a little slack here because there is an end in sight. And you know, this is where a lot of people take their foot off the gas because they're afraid to have that hard conversation with the people they love. But I'm telling you right now, when you stand in your truth and your goals and your vision for your entire family, and then you stick to it, they're going to start understanding what the bigger picture is. And they're going to be a little bit more, they're going to want to help more, most cases. I mean, sometimes you're just going to have a resistant spouse and you're going to have to decide and deal with that however you choose. But I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. But you know, but to live in a house where your husband actually does, like, he travels the world and plays music for a living. I mean, come on. And I told him, I was like, you know what, to live with you and you get to do what you want, you have no boss and you get to do that. What about me? That's what I'm doing.
That's awesome.
You know, so but you got to share your heart because it's your wants and your dreams. That's what this is about. It really is. That's really what it is. So it's sharing your heart and laying it out there. And it's not about Isogenics and enrolling people in my team and everything. It's the bigger picture that you have to share with him and other people to get them on board with you.
Yeah, and if you haven't followed her on social media, man, you come up with some doozy posts that are totally authentic and talk about your vision. And, you know, I know you've gotten some smack talk back at you and pushback. And you know what? You will not kick this girl back up on her heels. You know, she's got a vision. She walks the walk, she talks. And seriously, I can't wait to see what happens for you and your family and just all the beautiful people you're going to bless, because you're doing it every day, including me. Like you do more for me than you even think you know. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Tracy. We love you.
Love you too. All right, so we're going to finish out here. I think because belief is so important and mindset is super important. I just want to, I want to leave you with something to think about and to chew on, and you know, maybe make some adjustments if you need to in your own thinking, in your own habits and patterns. And you know, when this is how I know that I'm headed for a breakthrough, is the enemy is going to throw some distractions my way. No question. Conflict, distractions. Just know you're headed to destiny when that happens, and you don't get distracted. You don't let anybody kick you back on your heels. I promise you, if you quit before that miracle happens, I see it all the time, and I was the master of it. I was the master of it. That's why I'm sharing that with you. And it wasn't until I saw the distractions, but I kept my focus. You're going to have life happen. You're going to have distractions happen, but you have to maintain that focus, that breakthrough, that destiny, the miracle. It's coming, but you got to keep going. Cool. And, you know, all of you have your own vision, your own why. You know why you're here. I mean, most of us on this call, I think probably about 100% of us joined Isogenics not for the business. And the next thing you know, we fell in love with Isogenics. We fell in love with how we could help people with Isogenics. We fell in love with maybe ourselves again because of Isogenics and the work, not just physically that we do, but this personal development plan that came with it that none of us expected. You've got a purpose here, and I'm not here to tell you what your purpose is. I know what mine is. Mine is here to serve people. I know that without any doubt. And I choose purpose over popularity, because sometimes when you step into your purpose, it isn't popular. And you're going to get resistance sometimes. You know what you're here for. You only get one shot down here. Stand in your purpose. Know that people are not going to always like it, and it's totally okay. It doesn't mean you don't even need to cut them out of your life. You just limit and have healthy boundaries of how much you let that come in. And if you do let that come in, you got to know how to cut it off. I do this little thing. It's kind of weird, but I'll actually do this. And this has changed my life too, because I'm very sensitive to people's energy because I am so vulnerable. It's basically when you walk in vulnerability all day long, it's like having open wounds all the time. So you're susceptible to infection, you know, when you have like open wounds. And so that's kind of how I am all the time. And so I'm really susceptible to have people's energy attached to me. And not everybody's energy is super loving or it's broken, you know, and I'm not judging that. I was one of those people. However, something I've learned to do is I can still kind of be around that, where for a long time I was isolating myself because my body could not take any more of the energy that was coming in. And that was a choice. And what I started doing is, you know, it's a physical, and it sounds silly, but it freaking works. And so when I'm around negative energy, I limit it. And quite honestly, negative energy doesn't come around me anymore because my light is so bright. It like won't even let it come near me for the most part. But every once in a while, I'll be around it. And as soon as that person walks away or I dismiss myself from the situation, all of a sudden I do this. And this is really weird, but I'd be like, cut the cord, cut the cord, cut the cord, cut the cord, like an umbilical cord. And I like physically like chop it. Like I'm chopping the umbilical cord, and all of a sudden it's like that energy. It's like I am, again, talking to myself, like this will not take over my body. This will not affect me. You know, again, what you focus on, you find. And before I was like, so like, oh, I'm going to do this, but I know it's going to hurt me. And no wonder it was hurting me. No wonder I was sick all the time because I was allowing that. But now having that cut the cord, cut the cord, cut the cord, I can give freely like I do. However, my entire body has changed. My energy is changing. My attitude is changing. My energy, everything's changing. And I know it sounds really silly, but I promise you, like telling yourself, okay, it's time to cut that cord. Boom. And then you can be good. I know it sounds silly, but I know a lot of you, we talked about the perfectionism. I'm almost done. And, you know, perfectionism is based on fear and control. And I'm going to tell you right now, you can't have control and growth in the same place. You can't. Trust me, I tried. I tried in all areas of my life, and I failed horribly. I was not growing. I was taking 100 steps back every time I tried to control the situation or be perfect. So you can't have control and growth in the same area. And if you aren't growing, you're dying. That's awful, but it's the truth. So you need to know if you're one of those that is working off control, know that is completely fear. And you know, for me, fear, faith, it's one or the other. Either you are acting out of love and faith that things are going to be fine no matter what, or it's fear. Both believe in a future that hasn't happened yet. One is negative and one is positive. And most of us are acting out of fear. We're responding or reacting out of fear, or we're not doing anything out of fear. And that is negative. And that's determining a future that hasn't even happened yet, but you're taking it down the negative road. So why not choose the positive and just know that what's the worst that can happen? My heart gets stomped on a little bit, maybe. But you know what? Somebody may show up that's supposed to as a result of that. And you just keep acting out of love. Every time you get afraid, every time you're wanting to hold back and play small, know that you are not acting out of love. And I know I've harped on that, but it's the truth. And, you know, just keep choosing the positive. You know, be the thermostat. No more thermometers. I don't want to see any more thermometers out of you. Own that you are a thermostat. You will not be rattled. You will not come off your 75 degree cool as a cucumber temperature, no matter if it's a blizzard outside or it's like 180 degrees outside. You're going to be a consistent 75 cool cucumber. Can we agree to be thermostat? Yeah. Yeah. Love does trump fear. That is, I love that. We're going to stick to that. Seriously, every time that you feel yourself having that like anxiety, fear. Every time you have stress, it isn't stress, it's fear. No, every time you're allowing yourself to feel that you're not loving yourself. And if you're not loving yourself, how do you expect to help others and love others? You can't. You can't. So it starts with you. We're going to work on our posture. We're going to work on our confidence. We're going to do everything out of love. Can we agree to that? Say aye. Oh. All right, you guys. Nailed it. It's 8 o'clock on the nose. All right, so I'm going to cut you guys off. I'm getting on an airplane. You Ohio people, I will see you. And anybody that's coming to University in Action in Kansas City, I will see you there this weekend. Other than that, I will see all of you loving on people. I will see you stepping in to your confidence and your posture. I will see you acting out of love, not fear, because love does trump fear. See you next week. Love you guys.
Bye.
Love you, Tracy.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
See you later, Tracy. Have a good night.
Bye.